Well, hi there, and welcome to this week's What's the Word in association with Ladbrokes. This week's panel, we got Nicola McGeady rejoining us. Brendan Duke is back, and Johnny beside me as always. So how are we all? What were you up to this morning, Nicola?
I was down at Willie Mullen's yard this morning, which was great, having a look at our old Ladbrokes trophy winner, Total Recall. Looked in excellent shape, and it's just great to see all the stars back in action, back training, and looking at Footpad, it looked incredible. I was at Gordon Elliott's yard as well during the week as well. So hopefully we'll see some of them over at the Ladbrokes Trophy at Newbury.
So who's the handicap Rick then, or they didn't tell you, do you know?
No,
Okay.
Can't tell you yet.
What about you, Cheeky? We haven't seen you in a while. One or two adventures?
Yes, I've been away. I was at a wedding 2 weeks ago.
Yeah.
And a stag last weekend.
Seems you're doing the wrong order. Or
Yeah,
something
the natural order, and I think that's had an effect on my health.
Oh yeah.
Because I've been laid low this week. I came back from the stag with a cold.
Should we just move our chairs away, Johnny, because no one wants to catch this man flu?
Well, I was more thinking of you behaving like a stag in the church at the wedding. According to a blog on no-named website.
I wouldn't believe a word of that. And
that
then,
was your finest work ever, I have to say. It was unbelievable.
Stop. And then I was in Ladbrokes, no less, in Swords.
Good to know.
On Thursday, bit of race-to-race action. And my filling fell out.
Oh no.
So my mouth is currently operating at 50% capacity.
So your filling is lying on the floor of a Ladbrokes shop.
No, I threw it in the bin.
Good.
Etiquette.
Let's move on to Saturday's racing action then, shall we? We'll start with the Group 1 at Newmarket and the Kingdom of Bahrain Sun Chariot at 3:15. How did they bet in this, Nicola?
Yeah, Wind Chimes has some lovely form in France and heads the betting at 5-2. She looks like a leading contender. But the negative is tackling the quick ground for the first time. But it's going to be quite competitive because Lawrence is breathing down her neck in the betting at 3-1. And has been racking up Group 1s over the summer. I think will be a match for Wind Chimes, and looked very good in the Matron Stakes. But let's not forget Bilstonburg, 1,000 guineas winner. Obviously hasn't reached the same heights since then, but you can't rule out a classic winner, and possibly could be an each way shout at 14-1.
Yeah, absolutely. Lots of Group 4 2-year-old form amongst this field as well. But is Lawrence a little overpriced here, Juki?
Well, it's very interesting, isn't it? So originally Lawrence went in Fav.
Yeah.
But then the ratings boys obviously took over, because Fav's filly is £4 clear on ratings. She's taken her form to a new level the last couple of runs, and she's only had, is it 6 or 7 runs in her life? So
yeah, she's very lightly
she's very lightly raced. The only thing is, I think it's a very fair point Nicola makes about the ground. She's a scratchy owl action on her, and getting down in the dip or what have you. And this Lawrence, this race just sets
tough
up
as
beautifully.
boots.
They've moved the stalls over to the stand side. She's drawn 9. There's no competition for the lead. As you say, tough as old boots. What's going to get past her, Tom?
It's very difficult to make a case for something to get past her, unless Ballydoyle start throwing matches at her and try and take her home with several runners over the course of the race.
A change of tactics, that's always possible, I suppose.
Just because they have 3 runners in it, can you see past the lines, or do you with French filly, or
I was with Clemmy really when she was declared as a likely runner in this race about a week ago. I actually asked Aidan O'Brien would she likely run. He said, yeah, this is the plan. I was a little bit worried then to see that the lads, as they're called, are bringing over Wind Chimes, which you might interpret to say that Clemmy's not overly well fancied, but like Aidan's horse is the form there at the moment. She's had a really abortive campaign. She was the first Galileo to win a Group 1 over 6 last season. She was favoured for the Guineas, then she was obviously had a setback, and her season has just not started. Now, she got within 2 lengths of Lawrence last time, strong at the wire. That was a race. I don't think Lawrence won that race so much as Alpha Centauri.
Weird thing, right? I Can Fly did the course and distance in a quicker time than Lawrence did that day.
It was a funny race because it was quite muddling, and I thought initially, firstly I thought Alpha Centauri didn't run a race because she should be beating them.
Yeah.
And she ran around under pressure and she looked like she was feeling something. Then I was thinking, was it just that they didn't go quick at all, and it was very steady. But Clemmy, she got closer to Alpha Centauri than she had. Now, you can argue the case against that, but I thought it was a solid run, and I think she'll run very well. I don't see why she shouldn't make a 3-year-old, and I'm willing to forgive her because A, the stable was out of form, and B, her season only really began in the middle. So I think she might be hitting peak form now, and you're getting 7-1 maybe on the day. I think it'll be a competitive market tomorrow, and you're getting an each way price.
Yeah, and the last couple of years as well.
Yeah, and he's I don't think I've ever seen him in as good form as he is the last couple of weeks. It's just his horses are just all around him, 3 group races last weekend, and just a doubt about the Master Craftsman filly on the ground that would make me. I think Lawrence is eminently beatable.
Okay, that's fair enough. Let's move on to Ascot then, the Bengoff Stakes Group 3 over 6 furlongs, due off at 3 o'clock. Lamado, top of the market here, Nicola, is he?
Yeah, absolutely, at 9-4, and obviously bounced back to form after, I suppose, a slow start to the season. Needs fast ground. I think the weather's going to be key. I haven't checked it yet, but, you know, as I said, fast ground's key. But he seems to be back to his best almost, and although it's going to be a step up, I think he should be too good for the rest. Projections in there at 4-1, Gifted Master 5-1, Dream of Dreams, and Laugh a Minute, both 6s.
Lamado for a sec. Is this Lamado? 6 furlongs, decent ground, Group 3, you know, after having a few little sweeteners as well.
And a strongly run 6 furlongs. This race is loaded with pace. There's 3 mils of rain predicted according to my app, between 12 and 6. So I can't narrow it down any further than that. So the ground should be good. He gets the strong pace to run at, and probably either of his last 2 runs are good enough. But I might have something, maybe actually betting without. I might look at the betting without markets at this Laugh a Minute. 3-year-old, unexposed. Won't mind if perchance some more rain arrives than is forecast, and will love the strong pace to run it as well. So I might chance Laugh a Minute in the betting without.
Yeah, what about you, Johnny?
Mado's probably my bet of the weekend. I think he's just class act here. You know, he's probably been mistreated in a way in the sense of his training, that they tried to control him. He
has been strangely campaigned.
Yeah, they tried to maybe, and I've great time for Henry Candy, but maybe they've tried to turn him into something that he wasn't.
They also had issues with illness at the start of the season too, with pollen and all sorts.
And I remember David Jennings had rather given up on him, and I tipped him, and he ran okay, but he still didn't look quite back. They dropped him a little bit in class, and I think this is going to do his confidence a world of good. Winning the last twice, he obviously holds projection on the last run as well, and I just think he's all class in a 6 furlong race, strong pace. I think he's an excellent price. I'd have him closer to like 5-4.
Yeah, I genuinely thought it'd be a lot shorter than that price as well. On to some jumps action as well at the weekend. Although it does seem like sacrilege, particularly to you, Brendan Duke, of course.
Well, it's a right good race.
It is a good race, yeah. The PwC Grade 2 Champion Chase at Gorn at 3:40 on Saturday. Nicola, did you have betting for this?
Yeah, Balco de Flo, odds-on favourite, and was a revelation, I think, last season. 10-11, deserves to be favourite and should get the season off to a good start. Ticks all the boxes. After that, you've got Ballyosheen at 9-4, Atwa Phil's 11-2. And Woodland Opera, actually, I should mention, at 8s.
Yeah, Ballyosheen obviously the form horse, but no doubt about the class angle here, is there?
Ballyoshin's rated 157, which would give him a bit to find, but he does get £4, which doesn't give him a huge amount to find, and no horse saunters in here with more confidence than him, and they got it right over hurdles as well. Of course, I backed him his previous run over hurdles and punched him. I thought he was unlucky, but I've never been as worried about global warming as when Thurles had to abandon in October or whatever, and you're thinking like, what's going on here? And the ground here is exactly what Balco de Flo wants, so I think he'll take the beating. Yeah. Wouldn't back him at odds on now. I'd be willing to wait and see. Obviously, you get your guaranteed odds, but it's a classy race. Ballycasey, I think he must have run in this race the last 6 or 7 years. It seems like that anyway. Yeah. Ground is probably a little bit too lively for him. I think he can rule out virtually everyone except Atwa Phil. To me, looks like he's probably a little bit past it. Balco de Flo and Ballyosheen, one or the other. But Rachel Blackmore and Henry de Bruyne, I think their strike rate is thereabouts 1 in 3. Yeah. That's unbelievable, and had a very good run in the first race of Gorn today as well, so stable in form, and you can basically rely on this horse to run his race. I think he's a horse to beat.
Very solid, yeah. Anything else for you guys on Saturday?
There's one race in Newmarket, the 240. It's a really interesting race. Gosden has a regally bred 2-year-old who won in Newcastle the last day. Looked a right good horse, but there's some really well-bred horses, debutants, and an Aidan O'Brien eye catcher. He's to give £6 to tomorrow, so that race would be just worth a look for future effort. 240
at Newmarket. Keep an eye on that. Do you have any other selections from Saturday to watch out for, John?
I do. I do indeed. And Dot Love. Probably not getting enough credit for, I suppose, A, the stable being in such form, and B, what a terrific name she has, Dot Love, you know. But
Irish Grand National winning trainer.
Indeed, and Bridge Native has a massive chance in the handicap order. That's 155. She was off for like a year and a half before her run at Les Soul, and she probably got a bit bogged down on the ground. Maybe she got tired, yada yada. But then she ran in a flat maiden at Galway and was beaten about half a length. I think she's by stowaway. For a stowaway horse to be beaten half a length in a mile and a half maiden,
to even be able to lie up. Like.
Absolutely. Her maiden hurdle form suggests that she's very genuine. She's running off 105. Conor Orr taking off 7. You could nearly say she's run off 100 thereabouts. and I think she's a massive chance to 155.
What's her name again?
Bridge native, so she'd been
Bridge
off,
native.
came back, and the Galway run just suggests to me that actually her maiden hurdle form would suggest she's well handicapped as well. So it's just, is there a bounce factor after 3 runs? Maybe not. I think she's a huge chance.
Good stuff. Let's move on to the Sunday action. Absolutely brilliant card from Longchamp. We'll mention Tipperary first, though. It's kind of a strange little card because they got graded flat and
Super
jumps
Sunday.
action.
This is the type of card that, like, I think, you know, racing fans love. A bit of mixture of good flats. I saw Leading Light winning the maiden on this card a few years ago. I remember, Danny, remember who rode him? It's very unusual. David Jennings.
David Jennings knows.
Well, Niall McCullough rides
50 to
for
1 in running. I don't remember this jockey ever riding a winner for Aidan O'Brien.
Oh, okay.
But he rode him that day. He had to be at his strongest.
Can we get the answer from the audience? He's going to shout out.
Kevin Manning.
It was
Kevin
Kevin Manning. And I remember him just thinking, God, that horse looks slow, but then he ended up just being that type of horse. But
Yeah.
it's a cracking card. I'm actually down there myself on Sunday, looking forward to it.
Good stuff. What about the Concourse Stakes? You fancy out in that psychedelic funk and imaging,
Yeah.
Elon Gold Fairy?
Psychedelic Funk was going to run in Champions Weekend, and remember Ger Lyons was a little bit critical of the ground. I'm not
Yeah.
sure if that were the case, what happened, but
He needs it slower anyway.
He was scratched anyway, but strangely enough, they've completely different ground descriptions, like completely different for the jumps and the flat here. One has heavy in it and one has good in it, which
Considering they're yards away from each other.
I just find a bit strange. I'm sure that the reality is that they're actually a bit more similar, but I'd be with Psychedelic Funk. A little bit worried he's wearing a tongue tie for the first time.
What about you, Jiggy? Imaging coming back to form here, perhaps. Elon Gold Fairy for Dermot Weld as well.
Yes, I thought a bit because I think we'd be fairly sure that Imaging was waiting for this ground.
Yes.
Whereas with the Funk, I'm not. I was going to ask you what the story was with the tongue tie or what have you. Maybe he's had a physical issue, and he's got a penalty as well. Imaging looked a horse going places in the spring. I'll chance him.
Yeah, fair enough. The Grade 3 hurdle as well, the Grimes hurdle, we got Wicklow Brave there. Sorry, it's the horse and jockey hurdle, it's called now, that Grade 3. The 3:15, can you see past Wicklow Brave here?
I actually can. I never thought I'd say this. I'm going to tip Ivanovic Gorbatov at the prices
Okay.
with one of Ladbrokes' rivals. I'm not sure if you guys have a price up yet.
Not just
He's-
yet.
he's
It'll
only
be up
about-
by the time this is published, no doubt.
Yeah, it'd be about 14 or 16 to 1. I actually, off the top of my head, I don't know if this horse has won since he was a juvenile hurdler.
Since he won
Has
the
he won a
Triumph?
single race? But his run 2 runs back was good. The ground was against him the last day. JP has an unbelievable record in this race. You know, all of obviously the county boards all over Ireland will be cheering him on and all that. But he does have a good chance if Wicklow Brave doesn't perform. And even if Wicklow Brave does perform, he doesn't have as much to find at the weights as you think.
Quick selection this, Juki, or are you bothered before we move on to the Arc?
I had a very quick look and I thought Wicklow Brave would be hard to beat. So.
Fair enough. Let's move on to the Prix de l'Arc de Triomphe then. Enable looking to become the dual winner of the race, the 7th dual winner of the race. How do we bet, Nicola?
Yeah, I mean, she could go off odds on at the minute. She was, once the draw came out, we cut her odds into even money. Stall 6 is an ideal draw. You know, she blew off the cobwebs at Kempton. It's very hard to pick holes in her. She's just a fantastic horse. And Frankie Dettori, we had a blog with him the other week, and he's just so excited about this.
Just generally, he's excited, doesn't
Well, he is an excitable character, but and he keeps saying it would be a dream to come true, even though he's won it 5 times. But it's still, he's still really looking forward to it and really bullish about her. Sea of Class drifted a bit. The draw isn't ideal in 15. I think Haggis will be very disappointed with that, so we eased him out to 7 to 2. But he's still the biggest threat to Enable in the betting. The each-way punters have been backing Waldgeist all week at 13 to 2, and probably the pick of the French. And Kew Gardens has been nibbled at, cut into 10 to 1 from 12 to 1. And although the draw isn't ideal, I think he seems to be peaking at the right time.
Can you see past Enable, or are you going to put up an each-way selection against her?
I actually love this race. I think it's just having a filly second favourite and a would-be mare favourite. But I remember when Aidan O'Brien ran Mendelssohn in the Kentucky Derby and he couldn't get over. I remember he had some press day at Ballydoyle the following Monday or Tuesday.
Oh yeah.
And I was actually in the States for the Kentucky Derby, and it was lashing rain, and everyone was all about justifying and all that. But Aidan was like, gee, they run rough over there. They run seriously rough. This is going to be a rough race, right? Aidan O'Brien has 3 in this race at 50 to 1 or bigger. How can Kew Gardens win this race? Needs a strong gallop, right? Longchamp is a track that has a lot of critics at the moment in terms of how the ground is. What are we, 18 runners? It's going to be really, really traffic heavy, I suppose.
Yeah, and they
That's
swing around that turn as well.
Yeah, remember see the start, but the
watched that this
torture
morning,
he had to
unbelievable.
overcome to actually get through. Remember the Dylan Thomas win probably should have been thrown out. It's going to be a rough race, and this is all about the Gardens. You know, David Jennings tipped this horse up earlier in the year. Apparently, Aidan said that this horse is a little bit underrated. He will come good, just he needs a bit of time, and he's not as slow as people think. You know, when he ran in the Ledger, he was on top of the 1.5 mile part of the race. He was travelling easily. I didn't think it was stamina that won the day necessarily. I thought it was just class. And I think now they're realising that we're riding this horse as we should have been riding him all along, like the class act that he is. You know, he lost his first 3 starts comprehensively as a 3-year-old. I remember when he lost his Derby trial, I was like, where are we going with this horse? And now I think he's just peaking form, and stayers have a good record in this race, and I'm not even sure he's actually a stayer per se. So
Yeah, well, Order St. George was third in the race a couple of years
second
ago.
in it.
You know.
I could give him a reasonably each way chance.
What about you, Dukey? Can you look past the filly or either of the fillies?
Yeah, I think I can at the prices. I mean, Enable is a top class filly, obviously. She was very good in Kempton, but she got really warm before the race. Now, of course, she's so inbred to Galileo, and that's a Galileo trait, so maybe it's inevitable that she sweats, but she got particularly warm. There's always the chance that she might bounce, and she's a short price. I think the Gardens, I mean, I thought that run in the Ledger was just a revelation the way he travelled.
But you're worried about backing it up now?
Well, just Ledger winners have a terrible record of backing up. But this is Aidan. The horses couldn't be going any better. He's basically improved. Well, the prep run was in York, but up to that, and following on from that, his career has been one of gradual progression. I actually think he's going to put up a career best here. May not be enough, but surely goes close to getting into 3 and all chance of each way.
Okay, so you're going Kew Gardens.
Kew Gardens.
Kew Gardens. Nicola?
Enable.
Yeah, seriously. But let's move on to
Don't
the...
forget Sia Class as well. I mean,
Sia Class.
She's
But
probably
the
my
thing
favourite
is,
filly in training.
we could have a similar situation where she ends up dropped out the back because she's got such a bad draw.
Yeah, she has to be dropped out,
And then
like.
we got another, you know, James Doyle masterclass.
Absolutely, and now the only thing is she will never have experienced anything like this. It's going to be.
She has
she's
a
had
lot
a
of
fairly
small
nice trip in her
fields,
races. Like this
Why
is going to
why
be.
does she have to be dropped out?
I think she doesn't want to get there too soon, and she does kind of. She's a little bit quirky under pressure.
Oh,
They try not to hit her. Like.
Well, this is very tricky because I can't find much pace in this either. This is another thing about Kew Gardens. Like, he's to get across from 14, but it's not loaded with pace, and there's such a long run to the first bend.
Nelson's going to go 1,000,000 miles an hour.
Nelson will go, but they might ignore him. I think in the real race, he's.
But that's the key. You can't have a pace setter who's no chance. So Ballydoyle and Coolmore like to take on. Like, remember how they tried to beat Seas of Stars and ultimately failed, but they'll come up with a plan here, and it's not going to be like, let's hope for the best. They'll know what they're going to do, and that'll be to bring in the stamina of Kew Gardens and to expose whatever it is about Enable, which is obviously hard to say. But
Yeah, no doubt. Right, let's move on to the Prix de l'Abbé. Batash won this race last year by 4 lengths. Is he a short price to repeat the feat?
Yeah, 6 to 5 favourite. It's very hard to see who's got the gears to pass out Batash because, you know, on his day he's just magnificent, and that victory at Shanty last year, it was just incredible. So 6 to 5 favourite. Obviously, I kind of put a line through the Nunthorpe, just doesn't seem to like York. After that then it's Havana Grey at 13 to 2 and Tan Theme as well.
Are you going to oppose Batash here?
I think I am. I mean, it could well be deja vu all over again. He bolts up in Goodwood, blows out in York, bolts up in France. That could easily happen. If he repeats last year's run, it's good night. But he's a short price.
Yeah.
And this Soldier's Call, I love these 2-year-olds getting all the weight in sprints. I mean, it gets a £17 from the Colts and £14 from Maps Cross. So I think he's got to go close. He bundles of speed. Would be well able to lie up with them. Is an each way price about 8 or 10 to 1?
Yeah, Johnny?
I mean, if Havana Grey is like 13 to 2 to beat
Yeah.
Batash, like Havana Grey won probably the worst Group 1 ever run anywhere in the
Have a
Curragh
few more
last night.
digs at it, okay.
Albeit Son of Rest sort of backed up the form.
Yeah.
Batash, I mean, we all spoke about how weak that race was. Batash would have won that 4 or 5 lengths. I was on Shanty when he won last year. He was extraordinarily good. So this time of year, obviously, is no issue to him. I think he's the class act here by a long stretch. It's hard to see a 2-year-old beating him, but maybe.
Good stuff. I kind of like Alpha Delphine. I don't see why. Like, they won it with Tangerine Trees. Half brother. Good as a chance of it, 25 to 1. Right, anything else on that card for you at Longchamp you fancy?
I think Aidan O'Brien's filly that won at Goran, she runs in the Pink Dogwood. I thought that was an extraordinary
Prix Marcel
performance.
Boussac.
I know Goran is a bit of a mad track, like you can look a lot better.
Yeah. She's a half sister to Latrobe, isn't she?
Yeah, she's a full sister to
sorry.
Latrobe, and she just looked a late developer. She now the ground was pretty testing on that occasion, but she was so strong, you know, typical Camelot. Lots to like about her. She'll be around 6-7 to 1. I wouldn't be sure about how to rate the French form against her, but she looks very exciting.
Yeah, that's Pink Dogwood. Anything for you over the course of the rest of the
Very
long-term
quickly,
card?
the Boitron runs for Hannon in the Prix Jean-Luc Lagardère.
Nice.
Yes,
Well done.
Very nice.
Now,
Confidence.
really talented horse, and will realise all his potential if he learns how to settle. This race sets up beautifully for him. He's drawn 1, and the short price favourite likes to go forward. So the opposition, there's actually loads of pace in this race, but they'll have to respect him. They can't let him get away. Will help the Boitron to settle. And I can see him coming through and picking him up late.
What about the gusts of Klimt as well? Is this
Well,
his
he's gonna
day?
win the
He gets
foray.
his 7 furlongs. He gets a little bit of ease. Surely is this his group 1?
Oh, if he does, well, that's it. That's one of Aidan O'Brien's greatest training performances.
Yeah, well, he's
Well, if
his
you
last
back,
one behind
if you want to
the
back
Tin
him,
Man.
then you have to go back
You know.
imaging as well at
Yeah.
Tipperary as well. Right, let's get our best bets of the weekend then. Nicola, we'll start with you. Best bet and give us a multiple as well.
Playing it safe, Lawrence, Enable and Batash will be my treble. Best bet, Enable.
Okie doke. Cheeky?
Best bet, I will go for Lawrence of the 3:15 in Newmarket. I will stick her in a Trixie with the Ballyosheen and the 3:40 in Goran, and I'll throw in Kew Gardens in the Arc.
Okie doke. Johnny?
I am going to put up my nap at the weekend is probably Lamato at the prices.
Yeah.
Lamato, I think Batash is an absolute good thing as well. We're going to have to go in with the Love. Let's go with the Love. The 155 at Goran. Bridge native, lovely treble.
Good stuff. And I fancy Rhododendron in the Prix de l'Opera. Right, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We're back again next week with more What's the Word.